TripleXP. TripleXP.
No.
Okay. That's the sort of sentence you say when you have already started recording.
No, I'm joking. I have started recording.
Motherfucker. No, actually,
Well,
I
just edit
actually
it
have
out.
now. Have you actually now though? Because
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
I
have.
can't tell anymore whether you have or haven't.
Yeah, we started.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Right. Welcome to Triple XP. I'm Shane, and this is Mike.
Hello.
And this week we're joined by Sarah.
Hello.
Don't forget you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other important podcast places, Apple Podcasts and all those ones. On this week's episode, we take a closer look at the PS5, we pilot our way through Squadrons, and we discuss our favourite playable character. But before we get started on any of that, Sarah, who the fuck are you?
So I'm Sarah, or Sarahforthewine, as most people know me. I'm a streamer, software engineer, and I drink a lot of wine. That's basically it.
Don't you forgetting the most important part, Sarah? You're the tech support.
I am also the tech support. Yes, I do my best in that department. Yes.
Another essential role, like last week with Jedi.
It is essential because me and Mike are absolute idiots.
Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing.
Tech.
I did just help Mike with an audio thing like 10 minutes ago, so.
And
Literally,
another
this
one.
podcast wouldn't exist if it wasn't for yourself and Jedi and your technical skills.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I can help.
I'm pretty sure me and Mike could be operating on paper and just phoning each other and putting a putting a little dictaphone to our microphones, being like, "Yeah, we can record this and send the tape out."
Listen to my mixtape.
Exactly that. So you said you're a software developer, did you say? Engineer?
Yes.
What sort of software do you develop? Because I've never actually asked.
Oh, well, so when I first started, I did a lot of mobile shopping apps. So like Toys R Us, Ace Hardware. I think that's like a US thing, but just anything you shopped online, you probably came across something that I've worked on. Right now, I'm working on a lot of applications for the government. Can't talk about much there, but I work with languages I don't necessarily like, but it's easy. So no, nothing too interesting nowadays, but I used to work on pretty cool stuff.
So you're a spy, basically.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're a spy. But you're working on stuff to like track people's movement, aren't you? That's it. You're the one that's like tracking everyone's movement and recording all their calls.
Thanks
Right
a lot,
now,
Sarah.
I'm just clicking B to decide if one thing is a bond or not. So not that exciting, but I nap most of the days.
I mean, that's a statement you're making on a podcast there, that you nap most of your working days.
That's all right. They already know.
Amazing. So on that then, welcome to today's podcast. Lovely to have you here. But let's get on with the news. Again, it's not a particularly big week for news. It's another slow week, but there has been one massive amount of PS5 news coming our way. They gave us a real look under the hood, quite literally, as well as some changes that have been coming in the preparation for PS5. So, Mike, did you watch the teardown?
Yeah, I watched a good bit of it. Yeah.
So, for those of you that didn't see it, Sony announced a teardown video, and they literally had a Japanese man sitting with the console, open up the whole thing, and show us it bit by bit for no reason other than so we can see what the insides look like, which I've realised that I actually wanted to see, even though I've never wanted to see that in my life.
It's the news we didn't know we wanted.
100%.
But the first like takeaway from it was it is a big boy. It is massive.
Oh,
It's the size of a
voice.
man's chest.
Sarah, did you watch it?
I didn't, but girl is like what she's hearing.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it's a big boy. We've heard
It's
the
a
dimensions
chungus.
before. It's like it's a good maybe another half the PS4 on top of it, like on
Oh,
top of the
wow.
current PS4. Like it's huge. It's bigger than the Xbox by about 100 millimeters, 10 centimeters, I think, roughly taller than the Xbox. It's insane how big it is.
There's a reason for that though, with everything inside.
Yeah, and this is the big takeaways for me from the teardown. There's a couple of things that stood out. Firstly, that the panels on the side are easily removable, very easily removable, which says to me, and I'm sure you're on the same page, Mike, in that there's going to be customizable faceplates. So instead of them releasing a let's say Spider-Man PlayStation, there'll be Spider-Man faceplates at a $100 price tag, I imagine.
Probably.
So you can customize the console yourself.
But even if they don't go down that route, there will be people out there that will 3D print it and just make it anyway.
Will.
Yeah.
100% somebody will, at a cheaper price as well. They also showed off the slot for the SSD, the expandable SSDs that you're going to be able to add to it.
Oh, nice.
They didn't go into too much detail around it, but we do know that it's a standard, and this is where you're going to get to trip up my knowledge. It's a standard NVMe SSD M.2. Does that all sound real? Have I said that right?
I had no idea.
I'm sure that's basically what it is. So just in line with that, they also today announced the first compatible ones. So, and this is from Push Square. Western Digital reveals first PS5 compatible SSDs, which come in 500 gig, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabytes, with a price ranging between $149 for the 500 gig and $449 for the 2 terabytes. So not cheap by any means, but bearing in mind that these are the first compatible ones that they've announced, it's likely there'll be not only cheaper ones announced, but also the SSD price will depreciate as more get created that can meet the speeds that the PS5 requires.
But the takeaway from that for me was that it's very different to how Xbox do it. Xbox has like a proprietary one where you have to buy that one and it slots in the back. Whereas with the PlayStation, you can buy, third-party versions of the SSD. They just have to match the specs and speeds of the PlayStation hardware. Yeah,
exactly that, and that's to my understanding what they wanted to go with. They very much said that they want this to be the most customizable console that they've ever had, and you could really see that in the teardown. It looked like you'd be able to replace the power pack inside it, as in if they bring out new upgraded power packs in the future, it would be very easy for you to take that out yourself and put a new version in. And there's a lot of things that you could potentially change on it. The one big thing they also showed, which to me is genius, and I don't understand why consoles haven't done this previously, and it does explain why it's such a big boy, is when they took off the faceplates, there were two little triangles that are dust collectors, and they literally stated you could put a vacuum to this hole to suck the dust out.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. And alongside that, the fan itself, which was a big boy, it was a big old fan.
It's like a Dyson. It's massive.
Yeah, honestly, it looks like you could literally put the console on the floor and clean your floor with it. Like it's proper got some power in it. That looked like, from what we saw, you could take that off and clean it without voiding any warranties. It looked like that was actually quite easy to get to and very easy to pop out, give a good clean, and pop back in.
Yeah, just like a Dyson.
With ease. Just like a Dyson.
We're not sponsored by Dyson, just putting that out there.
Definitely not.
Not yet.
That, I don't think there was anything else that particularly stood out from the teardown. Just lots more showing us, like they showed us the liquid metal cooling system, which I know a lot of people are freaking out about.
Liquid metal.
as soon as I saw it and read it, the first thing I thought is, "Oh fuck, my PS5 is a Terminator." fuck. But outside of that, like they showed all the technical stuff that most of us don't understand. An absolutely mental, huge heatsink that's got some special pipe system that makes it like vapor running or something. All stuff I don't understand, and I know you don't understand either. Sarah's probably sitting there thinking, "I'd understand it if I saw it," but these boys are discussing it like they're fucking idiots.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately I haven't seen the video nor read any articles about it. But the only thing that I'll have to say is I don't mind a chunky console, just like how back in the day phones were trying to be as small as they can, but now they're larger with all these like notes and stuff like that. And basically, people are carrying around iPads for phones. But if it's going to be bigger but going to provide me more beef, then I'll take that, and I'll just struggle a little bit more with having to transport it. But other than that, I don't care that it's bigger.
Yeah, the only thing is like your shelf space in your living room, but if you want it, you'll find a place for it, won't you?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that are very into gaming and consoles in general, they have a dedicated space for a console.
Yeah, definitely. One thing they did show as well was the stand and how that works, and it was pretty nifty. They had like you had to unscrew it, and then they had a little like hole that the screw fits in, so you don't lose it and stuff like that. It's very like well engineered.
Yeah, it's definitely been built to be, like you say, quite sturdy, very well engineered, and it's been built so that you can quite easily take it apart and repair it and get replacements for it with ease. And it looks like, instead of, at least it's to me, it looks very much like, instead of them going, well, we're going to release a PS4 and then a PS4 Pro, that they're saying, well, we're releasing a PS5, there isn't going to be a Pro. In fact, all we're going to do is actually give you the options to upgrade certain parts yourself, should you choose to. So in 4 years' time, well, here's an upgraded power pack, here's an upgraded disk drive if you've got the disk drive version, here's an upgraded here's like bigger SSDs that are proprietary that work with it, but they're 4 or 5 years down the line. That's what it came across to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It sounds like console PLC, purchasable content.
Yes, that literally is what it sounds like. But no, it was a pretty interesting video, although it was not what we expected, really, because we've been clamoring for information. We've been wanting so much information about this console with only a month to go, and then that came up and was like, oh, this is a bit weird. But it has been followed by a lot more information.
Yeah, so the big trophy system change.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So
rolled out recently,
quite a bit about this, didn't you? It rolled out yesterday, I believe.
I spent all yesterday trying to figure out why, like, how the ratings work, and because they've changed it to like rather than just a number that goes up after you complete so many trophies or whatever. It changed to like a ranking system, so I'm not really sure how it works fully because I'm still figuring it out, and I've not really.
So I've done some research on it.
Oh, okay.
And so it went from 100 levels to now it's 99 levels, and your each trophy is now weighted differently to give you a better understanding of your level. So, for example, I was level 25 under the old system, and I'm now level 368, I think it was, under the new level. So 1 to 99, 100 to 99, and 200 to 99 are bronze 1, 2, and 3. 300 to 399, 400 to 499, and 500 to 599 are silver 1, 2, and 3. Same again for 600 to 699, 700 to 799, 800 and to 800 to 998 are gold 1, 2, and 3, and then 999 is platinum, and that you can only get platinum by being at 999, and there's only one platinum level. So that's like how the ranking system works. And I found an article on Reddit the other day where somebody worked out how the points worked, and unfortunately I've lost the article and I can't find it again. But it works at something like a platinum is worth 300 points, and then it's something like a bronze is worth 30, a silver is worth 60, and a gold is worth 90. It was something along those lines, and they'd worked it out across like 20 different people's trophies, and it had worked every time that was right.
Right.
So the weight is definitely more in platinums,
Yeah,
but you could
because
still have a higher score if you've got a higher quantity of trophies overall.
what I didn't understand is what was really confusing me was my sister, she's got 35 platinums, and I've got 13, I think it is. But she is only like a few points ahead of me. Like, it's literally like 20 points in it between us.
So I imagine that bronze, silver, and gold, you've got a hell of a lot more trophies than her, or a good chunk more trophies than her.
Yeah, probably.
So I looked at a friend of ours, Aidan. I looked at his trophies, and he has 26 platinums, I think it was, and I've got 3. So a massive difference in platinums.
Yeah.
He's come out of 348, whereas I've come out of 368. The difference being I've got 2,000 more bronze, silver, and gold trophies.
Right, yeah.
So there's a big chunk of trophies there that bump up the score. Although if he was to get another so many golds, so many platinums, it would probably bump up past me. Somebody did work out roughly what they think the leveling is for each level. So, but I can't find the article, but it worked out something like for your bronze levels, you need something like 10 or 20 bronzes to get past each level. But once you get into the silvers and golds, you're looking at it's like 18,000 points to a level,
Right,
something like that. So one platinum won't bump you up one level. You'd need to have multiple platinums or a shitload of golds, silvers, and bronzes to be able to bump you up a level.
Yeah.
I have a question for somebody that's never cared about trophies and stuff. I know that I have like a point, and I think it's at like 24 or something, or was in the old system. What do they mean? What do they give you anything, or just like a gold star, or in this case bronze, silver, gold, or platinum star in your name when you're playing with your friends or something?
Literally that.
Yeah,
Bragging rights.
it's literally a pat on the back and bragging rights, like you said.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Never mind, I get it now.
Hence why I only have 3 platinums, because I'm not a trophy chaser. I know, Mike, you chased a couple of trophies. You're not a big trophy chaser, are you? But you have chased a few.
I don't go for every platinum ever, or get the easy ones. I tend to just go for games that I love. And I like a Spider-Man, God of War, things like that. I'll go for those platinums, but only if I really love the game.
Yeah. See, I've never trophy chased any game. The 3 I've got are all Telltale games. So they barely even count.
Yeah.
I don't trophy chase, but I do like going through them, being like, "Ooh, I got a very rare one. Good for me."
I'm a pro gamer.
Ooh.
Well, that's the other thing. Part of the trophy change, they're also bringing in what's been described as, although we haven't seen how it's actually going to work yet, is like a trophy tracker. So you'll be able to our understanding, it'll either you just look at that trophy, or I don't know if you'll be able to select it. But if say it's a kill 100 people with headshots to get a trophy, it will track how many you're at. That's kind of how it's been sold, but
I think that's something that's been needed
in
for a
action
while.
yet. Yes, very much so. Because some of the trophies.
I feel like that would allow me to want to do more. I'm like, oh, well, I'm only like 10 away from getting that trophy. Let me just go and do that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Or you have those trophies that you're not sure how many you've done, so you kind of give up on it. Because I've done that a few times.
A good one for me would be Darkest Dungeon, because that's like the one game that I actually cared about getting any kind of trophy or achievement, and that would definitely be one of those where I would track it and use a tracker to make sure that I can get there. I would definitely go back and try to plat like a Darkest Dungeon run for sure.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, Mike, those ones where you weren't sure, you probably only 1 or 2 away, and then you just got fuck it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think with the tracker, it's well needed. And I think this whole trophy system change has piqued my interest, and I've spent today just looking at games should I go for this platinum? Should I try and get this? Just to try and up that rank.
I want to go back and look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done what it wanted to do, and if it's changing it up, say for the future of gaming, it's going to get more people on chasing trophies. That's only a good thing, really.
Yeah, it's going to make people want to play that specific game a lot more, which that's what all developers want.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. So, as well as that change, they also announced a web and app store change. This was only a small change, like a small announcement, because it's not happened yet. It's meant to be happening within this month, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. And basically, it's really simple. They're taking PS4, PS3, and any other legacy games off of the App Store and the Web Store, and putting PS5 only on them. But that's only for the Web and App Store. You can still you can still purchase and download PS4 games if you access the store via your console. It's only if you're accessing it via a phone or another device, and that's what I mean by the App Store.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's just in preparation for the PS5 loadout. I suppose it's a lot of it is to make sure that people aren't getting confused buying the wrong copies of things, because there's going to be a lot of things on PS4 which we'll cover in a minute with the backwards compatibility that might not work as well as they're expected to on PS5. And I think they're just covering themselves by saying, well, let's just reboot the store fresh in these places so that when you log on, you're only looking at the PS5 versions. Basically.
Have they talked about then their free games every month? Because a lot of the times, well, sometimes they have free games that are like for PS3 and PS4, but if they're not doing PS4 versions for free games, then are they only going to give you PS5 free games?
They haven't spoken about that, and they still can do it because, as you say, you can still access the store for the PS4 versions from the PS4. So if they were announcing a free PS4 game, you'd still be able to download it via your console. You just wouldn't be able to go onto the web or app and do the remote downloading.
That makes sense.
But yeah, they'd still be able to offer PS4 games and PS5 games, but they haven't really stated anything around how that's going to work as of yet, or what they're going to be doing with PS Plus moving forward.
Right.
And then backwards compatibility, that was the last one that came out today. There's a couple of things we want to discuss in that.
Friday, isn't it, as we're recording this? But
yes, sorry, Friday as we record it. Mike, you wanted to cover the games that they've announced that aren't compatible first.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an amazing list. There's 10 or 11, I think. I should pull up the bloody list. I've lost it.
I've got the list up.
I've got it. Yeah, so there's DWVR, Afro Samurai 2, Revenge of Kuma, Volume 1. This is the big one, and the one I'm most gutted about is TT Isle of Man, Ride on the Edge 2, because we're all big fans of that, right?
Huge fans.
And then there's...
I'm on the edge.
Max also said that it sounds like a porn, which I agree with.
It does.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
There's Just Deal With It, which I've never heard of. Shadow Complex, which is probably the only one that I know on there, or know of. Robinson, The Journey, never heard of that. We Sing, personally, I don't care. Hitman Go, which is probably the other big one on there. And then Shadwen, whatever that is. And then
Shadwen sounds amazing.
Shadwen. Shadows When. And then there's Joe's Diner. Those are the 11 that were, is it 10 or 11?
10, I think.
Yeah. So those are the ones that are like confirmed as not being able to play on the PS5, which is okay. I'm fine with that.
I'll be honest, I've never heard any of these. I'm kind of sad that I can't play Joe's Diner because that sounds food related, and I like a lot of food related games. But other than that, I'm like, what is all of this?
What is Shadwen?
Shadwen is Shadow Complex Remastered's prequel.
It's an incredible list of games that, like you say, of very, very low level games that I don't think anyone's going to be massively upset about.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some really big Hitman Go players out there.
Well, yeah.
But
the big
maybe
TT Isle of Man crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. Alongside that list, they also announced a lot of other information. And although I won't go through all of it, I was reading the blog post via a Gamatsu article, and there is some interesting bits in there that I think are worth mentioning. So they talk about the fact that some PS4 games will benefit from boosts and others will have upgrades, and they go through how the upgrades work. What they do state is, for example, in addition, some PlayStation 4 games may exhibit errors or unexpected behavior when played on the PlayStation 5 console, and they advise that you should download or place the game in the console and boot it up prior to buying any DLCs or downloads, just in case it doesn't work properly. They've also stated the PlayStation 5 games the PlayStation VR games on the PlayStation 5 console requires a VR headset as expected, a PlayStation camera, and a PlayStation camera adapter. It appears from the information that we've got on this article that the new HD camera for the PS5 doesn't work with VR.
Really?
And you will need to use your original camera with an adapter that appears to come with it, because it does say the adapter is no purchase required.
Right. Okay. So what does that come in the box, or?
I assume so, but again, they haven't confirmed that. We don't know exactly what comes in the box, but it does appear to be that you're not going to be able to use the HD camera with the VR.
So what's the use of the HD camera then, if it's not for VR support?
Streaming, yeah.
Yeah.
If I've heard that correctly, does that mean that the old VR system for PS4 is then going to work for the PS5 with the adapter?
Yes, VR will work. VR will work, but you will need an old school VR, an old school like PlayStation 4 camera with an adapter to work, not the HD camera. I don't know if it's because of the nature of the camera or because it says an adapter. If it's the way that the camera feeds information into the console that affects the VR, it doesn't go into any real detail.
Sure. I'm actually not mad about that, because JB and I have been talking about getting a PlayStation VR, but we just assumed that a new version would come out with the PS5. So maybe while things are still kind of cheaper, since it's older, to get it now in preparation for the 5, since it's supposed to work without a no purchase adapter, that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, and it sounds like the adapter comes with it, because it does say no purchase required.
Yeah.
We know that a VR2 is supposedly in the works from information that's come out previously, and that it might be wireless, but I think we're looking at 2 or 3 years before that comes to fruition, because they're bringing out a new console. It's not going to be their focus right now.
Right. Okay, that's really good to know.
There is some more information about VR, which I'll get to shortly. They did also state that you can transfer over digital games and save data from your PS4 console to your PS5 console using Wi-Fi data transfer. And they confirmed that save data will be at developers' discretion as to whether it will work. The PS4 version will work with the PS5 or PS5 version should there be an upgrade to that game. The other bits of information that were worth mentioning, so they cover the upgrade stuff. Compatible controllers, they do state that all the relevant controllers, both the PlayStation Move motion controller and the PlayStation VR aim controller, work with supported VR games on the PlayStation 5. So yeah, there's no concerns around that.
It's like an all-around good news day for PlayStation.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very happy with all of this.
Confirmed some bits around headsets working, but again saying that things like companion apps for headsets for PS4 won't work with the PS5. The headset will, but the companion app won't. Which nothing major. Oh, here we go. The HD camera is not compatible with PlayStation games. Please connect a PlayStation camera via a PlayStation camera adapter. It specifically states that in there. So that kind of gives you an understanding there of what they're saying around the camera.
Yeah.
They also talk about how the create button, so when you're using a PS4 game, the create button on the controller will work exactly as the current share button works. So it sounds like however the create button's going to work, it will only work in its full functionality for PS5 games.
Right.
But it does state there's it was just some interesting wording that I'm just curious as to your views on it.
Just while you find that, I just wanted to. I want to know like if they're gonna because I predominantly when I streamed just from the console, like, so I want to know if they are going to support streamers a bit more in terms of like features and stuff. So like it sounds like the HD camera is just for streaming then, if it's not for the VR.
Yeah, I mean, if that I don't know any other reason why they would add that HD camera unless it was just for streamers, if you can't use it for anything else at the moment.
Yeah, and so the wording they have here is PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility limitations. The share menu cannot be displayed during PlayStation 4 gameplay on PlayStation 5 consoles. So the fact that they've stated that there is some form of share menu, which is linked to the create button, is interesting in itself. And the other thing they spoke about is when they're talking about downloading or purchasing games, they always refer to the game as being within a game hub. So every game that you want, so yeah, sign into your account, insert the eligible game, go to the game hub for that game. So it looks like the way that the new UI is going to work is going to literally give each game. I know at the moment we've got those smaller hubs, but where they're talking about games being able to just be stopped and then we go back to like instantaneously, that they're going to have their own little hubs where you can create and add things yourself. Obviously we haven't got any detail on that, that's just speculation, but it's interesting the wording they were using.
It's just, I just want them to like release the user interface now, just show us what it's like when we turn it on. Like, it comes out in a month, for fuck's sake. Just show us.
It is getting pretty mad now.
Yeah, but it's just annoying now that it's like they haven't shown us anything. We're just getting these like little tidbits of like info, trying to piece it all together, and it's just like, I mean, it makes it interesting to talk about, but it's fucking annoying. Just show us the goddamn games. Show us the goddamn console.
It's funny to think about though, because they are kind of keeping it hush hush and giving us a little bit at a time, and it just makes me feel like one of those relationships where you just don't really know and it's super mysterious, but you just want all of it. And now you know that there's some pretty good stuff in there and it's a big boy, and you know the chest plates are customizable, and you're like, okay, but I'll still take it though. You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Like, I read an article the other day that was someone, I can't remember who, did a study on pre-orders, and it was something like 60 or 70% of the market, or was it 60% of the market is held by PS5 pre-orders. They're through the roof in comparison to substantially less on the other areas, on like Xbox and their different consoles. Wow. So they're still obviously driving massive amounts of hype, even though they're barely giving us any information. If anything, we're all so frustrated that any tiny tidbit, like a 5-minute video of a man taking the console apart, we're all jumping on it like it's the best thing since sliced bread. Because we haven't seen anything for such a long time. We're like, just show us.
I think we're all like, especially us three, we're all firmly in camp PlayStation as well. Like I'll definitely be getting one, but it's just annoying me that I don't know what it does yet.
Yeah. Same.
But like, I don't know what it is, but I want one.
Exactly. But that's pretty much it for the news, to be honest. Yeah. There wasn't really much else coming out this week. It was just a lot of PlayStation, nothing else really. Yeah, just a few announcements.
A lot of slow news.
The launch game.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know, because that list. So I've been busy with stupid tasks all week, so I haven't had an opportunity to do any kind of research on any of this, and it seems like there's not much news compared to before, but to me this is a lot. Now I'm considering getting a VR soon. Now I'm like, oh well, I can continue playing these games, and I should continue at least with the ones that I know can work with the PS5 saves that can be transferred. So this is a lot of information to me, especially that I'm mostly PlayStation, that I can take with me. So I'm glad that I was here for this. And I definitely would have heard it later, but I'm glad that I was here for this because now I want to talk about getting a VR system for the PlayStation.
I'm glad that we could expand your knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, never worry about doing research because that's what Shane's for.
That is what I'm here for.
That's
I
true.
am the research guy, and I love it. Well, tying that up, then, should we move on to what we've been playing this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sarah, as our guest, you get to go first.
Okay. So my main game that I've been playing recently is The Long Dark. I know that it's an older game, but it was just released on the Switch not too long ago. And I actually do own it on PC and streamed it for about 30 minutes before I quit because it was too hard. And now that it was released on the Switch, I saw it while I was on vacation on the beach. And I kind of like those survival games, just ones that feel very long that you don't get anything done ever, just like Darkest Dungeon and like Don't Starve, where like nothing happens but everything is happening. So I've personally been enjoying The Long Dark, and I try to play through the story, and unfortunately the Switch version of it has a pretty devastating bug where if from the first chapter, if you don't leave the cave correctly, then the next cutscene doesn't work. And then you spend hours in this wilderness not realizing that because the cutscene didn't happen, part 2 never happened. So I wasted about 6 hours of my life, but had fun doing it.
So can I just ask?
I think we're about to ask the same question.
for me and Mike and maybe any listeners, what is The Long Dark? 'Cause I've never heard of it.
Right.
Sorry,
So,
I was going to ask, how do you correctly leave a cave?
Okay, so The Long Dark is a game where you are stranded in the middle of somewhere and it's wintertime, and you're, depending on the game mode, there's the story mode, which leaves you with some stuff, and then there's survival mode, which leaves you with, depending on what difficulty level you choose, either a lot of stuff or nothing at all. And so you just try to survive as long as you can. And then there's game mode where it's challenges. So you get thrown into this challenge and you just try to survive that specific challenge. And I haven't done the challenges yet. I tried the story and tied into what Mike was asking. The way to correctly leave a cave is to sleep in it before you leave. And once you leave it without sleeping in it, then the game breaks. So that's what The Long Dark is, and that's how you properly leave a cave.
I'll remember that when I'm ever stuck in a snow tundra.
In a cave.
In a cave.
Is it first or third person or top down view? Like, how does it?
It is first person, and you can see your. Can you see your hands? I don't even. Maybe
you tell me.
I don't know. I don't remember. I think it's definitely from the point of view of the dude's eyes.
As opposed to his nipples.
Correct. As opposed to his nipples or his big toes. I think you can see your hands. I don't quite remember.
Okay. And is there like, as well as obviously surviving the snowy tundra and the inability to leave caves correctly, are there animals or monsters that attack you, or is it just don't starve yourself to death?
No, there are animals in the story mode. Animals are specific to what part of the story that you're in. I don't want to give any spoilers. And then in the survival mode, it depends on the difficulty. So the easiest difficulty, the animals are like, "Hey, what's up? Want to pet me?" And then the hardest one is "Go fuck yourself," or "I'll go fuck you for you," basically.
The worst kind of animal.
Right. So there are animals. There are the winter nature elements to it, and trying to find food and shelter and whatnot. But it's basically the developers state when you're playing it that this is not how you would actually survive, but it's pretty close. So don't do this in real life. But it's trying to mimic what it would be like if you were thrown into a situation where you had to survive in the wintertime.
So, is it multiplayer? Or is it just a single player?
I don't think it's multiplayer, but would be the worst person to ask because I never care. I personally don't like to play a lot of multiplayer games unless it's like just a date I have with my friends playing a game, then I care. But for the most part, I'm a single player person, and I only know if it's a multiplayer person if somebody's like, "Hey, would you like to play this game with me?"
Yeah, just because it sounds a lot like The Forest. And
I was thinking The Forest when she was
yeah.
describing it.
But
I
it
think
sounds good. I'll
I think
definitely
I
check it
have.
out.
Yeah, it's definitely similar to The Forest, but I think it's more of just a personal experience. But again, I'm not quite sure if it's a multiplayer game or not. But other than The Long Dark, Hades, everybody's been playing Hades, and Persona 5 Royal is a game that I've been streaming that every time I stream, I'm like, I'm so close to the end, and I'm never at the end.
You'll literally never
And
stop streaming this game. It's going on forever.
And I've been enjoying my Tetris 99 get to first place runs every time. I've gotten first place once. I know I can do it again.
The closest I ever came was 6th, and that was the day it came out.
I think I've come 5th or 6th as well. I've never got further than that though.
It's exhilarating when you hit that first, and now it's an addiction, and I can play Tetris for hours, and I'll forget to do anything else.
Have you played Tetris Effect?
I have not.
You
I have
really
not
should.
played that.
It's so good.
And it's in VR.
Yeah.
It's in VR.
Boom.
Tetris in VR, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
It's on PlayStation VR, and it's really good in VR. I've not played it, but I've heard good things.
I've played it
Well,
not in VR, and it is incredible.
Well, now that I know that the PSVR is going to work with PS5, now that's another reason to get it because
Just another reason.
I want to play Tetris IRL. I want to be in it. I would love that. But those are the games that I've been playing on and off, and it's been great.
So on the note of Tetris, I mean I love Tetris 99, and last year I went to the Eurogamer event in London and in the UK, and it was just this big video game event. It's like the main one for the UK, and we were standing in a queue for it must have been about 45 minutes to get into the first gameplay demo for the Avengers game. But behind us on this stage, they had a anyone can join Tetris tournament. If you come first, you got a prize. It was the most interesting thing I've ever watched in my life. Just spent 45 minutes just staring at these people trying to win at Tetris in front of a crowd of people. It was enthralling. Honestly, I was obsessed. I think that was the highlight of my time there. Came out of Avengers like, no, that was shit. I want to watch more Tetris.
Well, I mean, if that's a thing that happens at UK game conferences, I'll see you soon.
I mean, it happened that one time. I don't know if it happens every time.
I will make sure it happens another time.
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting, though. Mike, what about yourself?
I've been playing Vampire. I don't know how you pronounce it.
I also have no idea how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
I think it's just vampire.
Yeah.
But it's spelled weird.
It's spelled weird. It's confusing me.
I think that's the actual way to spell vampire.
All right.
Oh.
All right.
I don't know. I've had wine.
But yeah, it's a weird one because it's like not great, but I can't stop playing it. I'm not super far into it because I've had like a busy week. Also had a birthday, which was nice. But I've been on my off time. I've been playing Vampire, and it kind of reminds me in a way of Mass Effect, where you're kind of chatting to people a lot of the time, and then you'll go like into a little area and you'll do fighting, and the combat reminds me a lot of Bloodborne. And you were saying this as well, Shane.
Yeah, I got the Bloodborne vibe from it. Just like a really dumbed down version of Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's kind of simplified and a lot easier as well. Like I got to a boss and I only had to fight him twice before I beat him. Where if it was Bloodborne, it'd be a lot more than that. Unless you're Shane, a scabby little bastard that scabs through and one hits every boss.
I can't help it if I'm really, really good at Bloodborne. I'm just really good, alright?
Yeah. We'll see.
Demon Souls will be the test.
Yeah, I think so. Are you getting that day one?
Probably not, because I really begrudge spending £70 on it.
Yeah.
So I'll either rent it or wait till it goes down in price a little bit.
Yeah, probably rental in it.
Yeah. At least to start with, because I don't want to blow £70 on a
It's a
game
lot,
on day
innit?
one. I've got a lot. Like, considering I'm spending £50 on Cyberpunk and £50 on Valhalla, and that yet you're asking me to spend £20 extra on a game that's, although yes, it's been remade, I understand it's not the original. They put a lot of work into it, but still, it's £20 more than 2 other brand new games that I'm getting.
That's true.
Why am I paying this extra? So I refuse to pay that right now.
Yeah, I think the price will go down to 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
I think
pick
it
it up in
will.
a sale or something.
Yeah. I've also been playing Division 2. Picked the DLC up. It was on sale for, I think the whole bundle of like the game and then all the DLC was like £11. So I picked that up.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's really cheap and it's an alright game. I enjoy it a lot. It's just a really basic third person shooter. But the DLC was pretty good. It was quite short, especially if you buy it for like the £25 price tag that it's got on it. It's kind of expensive for what you get, like story wise. So
Is that the one you were talking about where it feels like the raid?
yeah, well
Is that out?
that is out. I have been playing a little bit like that. So it's just you attack a tower block and go floor by floor. I still need to get into it because I just polished the story off. And then I went back to the old DC and did some story stuff there. But yeah, it's like a new addition to that DLC.
Okay.
So I don't think you can play it if you haven't got the DLC. But it's good. Yeah, it's like the Raid movie if you've ever seen that.
It's like and I imagine in the game it is like an end game raid sort of mission style thing. It's not something you're just going to pick up midway through.
No, I mean, yeah, it's I think it
Top tier
scales
sort of
to your
stuff.
level, but yeah, the higher level stuff is definitely top tier. So you start at like level 1 and then work your way up. But the stuff that I played, like I went down pretty quick as well. Like it's definitely end game from what I got. But I know I even had Strong back with me, and we both went down a few times.
Yeah, it must be tough.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it for me this week. I've not really played much. Just little snippets of games. And, what about you, Shane? I know you've been busy gaming.
Well, I've been a little bit busy, but there's one game I want to talk about this week.
Wait. Can we have a very brief Divinity update?
Very
yes.
brief Divinity update. Super brief, less than 30 seconds. We've landed on the second map. We're working our way around the map slowly. We found ourselves in a area that's slightly too high level for us. I've murdered a lot more people. Ryan keeps trying to get me to stop murdering people, but I can't help myself. And that's kind of all we did. We didn't really get very far this week because where we landed on the new map, there's a lot of exploration and we didn't know anything. So we were very much taking our time to figure things out as we went. But that's pretty much it. There's not much of a Divinity update this week. Hopefully I'll have more next week.
Did you get
I
fucked
still
up?
love these updates though.
Did you get fucked up by the scarecrows?
No. So what happened was I had run off to do something. I was in a different fight. And then Mum's like, fuck, Shane, I'm being chased by level 12 scarecrows. We're only level 10. With Divinity, if you haven't played it, that 2 levels is a massive difference. Generally, you can only really fight things that are your level. Or if all 4 of you are ganging up on one thing that's 1 or 2 levels higher than you can do it. But generally, if they're equal to you, they're going to fuck you. So what he did is he just kited them towards this little base that had between level 12 and 15 paladins in it, and then he just stood there and let the paladins do all the work and got all the XP for it. I was in this other fight just getting XP, like, what's going on? He went, yeah, I'm just letting paladins do it all for me. I'm just standing here. So, okay, fair enough.
I love it.
So, Squadrons, right?
Yeah, so that's what I want to talk about this week. Squadrons. I've played a fair bit of it. I actually am about to send it back. So Squadrons is out by EA Motive. I believe this is their first title that they've done on their own. Just having a quick look. Yeah, they collaborated on Battlefront 2, but Squadrons is their first sort of entry into the video game world by themselves. I dabbled on it last week, but I've had an opportunity now. I've completed the story, finished all the campaign up. I've also had an opportunity to play some of the multiplayer in its both modes. So for those of you who don't know, Squadrons is a dogfight Star Wars game. You get to play as both the Empire and the Rebellion, and you get to fly all of those cool ships that, if you're into Star Wars, you got to see: the TIE fighters, the X-wings, plus some ships that you may not have noticed or remembered as much. The Y-wings and A-wings feature, but there's also a U-wing. And then on the Empire side, you've got the interceptors, bombers, and another one that I cannot remember the name of, but it looked really cool. So throughout the campaign, and this will be spoiler free, throughout the campaign you play as both sides, and it switches between them every so many missions, so you get to see the story from both sides. The campaign itself was okay, but it was pretty short. It was I think it's around 8 to 10 hours, so it's not a massive campaign, but it was pretty solid actually. It wasn't the most interesting story I've ever played, but it had some really strong moments, some really exciting moments that were like, oh, this is actually really cool, what I'm doing right now. So I did enjoy the campaign quite a lot, and I got through it within a couple of days. I just wanted to go back to it and finish up the story, so I did that. The multiplayer, on the other hand, didn't grab me as much. I found that the core like dogfight quick play got very boring very quickly. So the concept is exactly as you would expect. It's an open map area around a space station or something that's happened in the storyline. That it's an area around there, and then it's just 5v5, flying around, shooting each other. When you die, you have to wait 10 seconds, you respawn, you do it all again. It's nothing. There's not like tactically. I suppose if you're playing with friends, you might be able to add a bit more tactics to it, but it's no different to a team deathmatch. But you're in spaceships, basically. So I didn't really get on with that. But I mean, if you're into that, you'd have a lot of fun with it. Then they've got what's called fleet battles, and these are a little bit more in depth. So these are objective based, and they can go on for quite a long time. And you've both got a big starship, and then you've got different objectives you have to complete to push back on the enemy force and vice versa. And there's like a morale bar, so depending on how much, bear with me one moment, Molly.
Molly.
Olé!
Well, it seems like the type of game that if you're not super into Star Wars, then I don't think you'd be like, I don't know, because I'm not super into Star Wars, and it's not like
I'm also not super into Star Wars. Yeah, I've been watching JB play it, and to me, it just looks like any other space fighter game. I know that like the type of spaceships that you use to fight in are cool, but like you don't really get to see them. You just see the insides of them.
Yeah, I think it's like, you've got your cool sound effects and brings back nostalgia of the films and stuff, but
correct.
Sorry?
I just said correct. You're right. You're spot on. It is no different to any other flight based, whether spaceship or, because I've played a lot of the Ace Combat games, and to me it feels no different really to those. It feels a bit weightier in the ships, like the bigger bulkier ships feel slower than the smaller nippier ones, but it's quite simplistic in its combat and its controls, and it doesn't feel particularly special in my opinion. But if you're a big fan of Star Wars, you will enjoy it. The ships are graphically it's great. The ships are very well designed. With regards to the graphics, obviously they didn't design the ships, but with regards to the graphics set up for them, the inside of the cockpits are very well done. And interestingly, they've confirmed that there is no DLC and there is no post-launch plans for the game. Everything in the game can be purchased with in-game credits. There's nothing is microtransactions. There's no way to use real money. You can only get things by earning it in-game.
Yeah, I think EA are slowly learning that lesson that nobody likes microtransactions, especially in Star Wars games.
Yeah, it's that, or this is just a little snidey one where they're doing like, we'll do it for that because it's a cheap game that, you know, it's at the end of a generation. We're not expecting to make loads of money off of it. And then when the next game comes out, that has microtransactions, they can be like, yeah, but remember that time when we did it and you all requested it because you enjoyed that game so much and you wanted microtransactions because you wanted more stuff for it. I think they're playing a sneaky one on us.
Maybe. Never trust EA.
No, no.
Yeah.
But then go after you, Sarah.
Another thing that I noticed with the game is that I know the campaign just is better than the multiplayer, but even with, because the campaign is, you're still on your ship, but I felt like the voice acting itself was just also kind of subpar. It didn't make me feel like invested in it, and I like to watch people play games a lot, and I sit on the couch playing my Tetris, watching JB play his games, and I still wasn't like, you know what, I don't care. Whereas where he's playing The Witcher and I'm like, oh no, she didn't. You know?
Yeah, there's no, I found no emotional attachment to, no matter how much they tried, I had no emotional attachment to any of the characters, the story that was happening, nothing about it. Maybe like there was nothing that really drew me to the story, but it was just a fun experience.
Right. Which that's totally fine. If it's fun, it's fun. That's all.
Yeah, and it felt very much to me like it's no different to when you used to play the old like fighter pilot games down at the arcades.
Oh yeah.
You weren't playing those for any kind of storyline or anything. You were just playing them because they were fun.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what this felt like. It felt like an arcadey, just really fun space shooter where you haven't got to think about it too much. You haven't got to put too much effort into it. You can just have a bit of fun with it. And you know what? Each mission, each multiplayer map, you're talking 5 or 10 minutes and then you're done. So you can play one game, then put it down for a bit and come back later. Like I say, no different to the way that arcades are run. And it kind of very much had that arcadey vibe to it.
Yeah, I respect that.
I think one positive is it's not a full price game. It's like, was it £35 for us?
Yeah.
I think it's actually 30. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. So
I think it's actually 30 for us.
Yeah. So it's not a full price game, so you kind of like expect it in a way to not be like the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, and I think that's why I wasn't too pissed at it, because it didn't try to be more. It didn't sell itself to be more.
Yeah. I think it could be one of those like underrated games where, you know, it the more support it gets, like, you know, the better it could get or whatever. But yeah, it's similar to the way Siege was when that came out. That was like I think it was like £25 when it came out or something. And it's, you know, it's just multiplayer focused, and then it's like a bit of a powerhouse of a game now. It's got a huge following.
Yeah, but that always had a plan and roadmap to add more content, whereas Motive have said there is no extra content being developed for this game,
right?
And that all of their teams have moved on to new games. So this is a standalone one-off. You play it, you do your bit on it, but it won't be getting any future updates, at least right now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, as I say, I think it's solid. If you're into it, you'd have a lot of fun with it. I personally rented it. Again, shout out to Boomerang Games, who the rental service that both me and Mike use. I rented it from them. I had it for a week, and I'm pretty much done with it. It's going back in the post box tomorrow morning.
I've got a little a Boomerang anecdote. So I rented 2 games the other week, and fair play to the heroes at Boomerang. They do a solid job. And they usually get the games back pretty quick. So I sent my 2 games off, received the email that they received one of them. I was like, that's weird. Why have they not received 2? because you usually get 2 separate emails. Waited a few days, heard nothing back, and then through the post there was my game that they said they were sending, and a couple of days after that there was a new game I didn't realise. I was like checking my email, I was like, what is this game? I opened it up, and what I'd done was send the game back to myself, so it literally boomeranged on me. So
I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, I forgot to flip the little paper.
I can't believe you've done this.
Oh, honestly, absolute muppet.
I know. What an idiot. But yeah, anyway, should we move on to section 3?
Section 3. So, I mean, as per usual, we'll do the old go around the room. So this week we're talking about favourite playable characters. Any generation, any game, just favourite playable characters, any platform even. So Sarah, we'll start with what's your number 3? We work backwards.
Okay.
What's your number 3?
So I in general realized, thinking through this question, that my favorite playable characters are more character progression based. So what they just kind of go through in the game series in general. So my number 3 is Miles Upshur from Outlast.
I had to Google who that was when you put it in the notes.
You play this guy that wants to write about and investigate this asylum of what's going on in there and all this stuff, and then you go in there and like everything's gone to hell, and you start off with this guy just trying to be a journalist, and then you turn to a guy that's trying to survive, and then a guy that's trying to figure out the secret, and the guy that's trying to get out to tell the world, and the shit that he goes through, and how he seems like he's kind of a wuss to losing fingers, to just the progression he goes through, and the mental abuse and the physical abuse, and this poor guy. I just feel like I really, not that I resonated with him, but I thought he was a favorite playable character for me because I actually felt the feelings he was feeling, because I just felt like they wrote him so well. So he's my number 3.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, he's a very like involving character, like, because of the way the game plays out. Like, you're viewing it through his eyes. Obviously, it's first person, but I think with the added of the video camera.
Yeah, and the journaling.
I think it's a really good way of storytelling. Like, it really does a good job of pulling you through that story and keeping you going despite the scares and horrors that you face.
Yeah, that game in general to me is a very, very well done horror game, survival type of game, and I just think that character in general goes through so much in that whole series. And even though like you can't fight back, he does fight back in his own way of surviving, and running away sounds cowardly, but you still have to be kind of smart to be able to run away the way that he does. And to me, he's very, very interesting as a character to play.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing with him is the relatability of if we were caught in the situations that he's caught in, the fight or flight instinct take over, and most of us would like to say, yeah, we'd fight, but most of us wouldn't. We'd flight. Like, flight is the more common option in a fight or flight situation. So I think we can all relate to the fact that we, in those situations, no matter how sort of weak you think you are, or no matter how much you think you can't cope with something like that happening, if you had to run and hide and the adrenaline kicked in, you would pull off some crazy mad runs.
Right.
And so yeah, I think he's a really relatable one for how you would potentially react in those situations yourself.
Exactly.
I think as well with Miles, we've really got to respect that he started off a budding journalist, and basically he went through that mansion and just ended up videoing dicks.
two of them actually.
Yeah. 2 dicks of really heavy set guys.
2 solid ones, yes.
Fair play.
And my second one is Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed. I feel like with how he started, again, with the whole, my favorite character is the one with story progression, how he was just this dude wanting to get laid by this lady and then figuring out that his father and brother were being prosecuted and being told that everything was going to be okay, and then having to witness the murders. And it's spoilers, obviously, but it's a very old game, so I don't feel too bad.
No, it's fine. It's well over 10 years old now. So
Yeah, and
that's more than reasonable.
And then he realizes that his father has this secret thing about assassins. Then he kind of learns to be one, and then he realizes all these other secrets, and then he becomes this just childish boy to growing up to this, well-educated, serious man and his journey, and you just play through it, and I felt for him, and I felt his anger and his revenge and his sincerity and sadness, and I just felt everything with that character as I was playing through him, even though maybe the gameplay wasn't necessarily that great because it was still the second time around, but Brotherhood was amazing, and Revelations I thought was great. And of all the Assassin's Creed characters, I really felt for Ezio, and whenever I think about it, the Assassin's Creed series, I always think about Ezio.
I can agree with that. With regards to Assassin's Creed, I've played most of them, and Ezio is very much like the poster boy of Assassin's Creed now.
Yeah, he's
And
definitely.
they very much sold it like that, didn't they?
He's definitely the one that stands out as a character, whereas the other Assassin's Creed assassins are kind of meh.
Yeah, just another assassin, whereas they really fleshed out who Ezio was.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
in turn, you kind of figured out who Altair was as well. And Altair is probably my second favorite, but at the end of the day, I feel for Ezio, and I know his story, and I just had a lot of fun being Ezio and being that the Auditore guy, and just being Italian.
Surely second favourite's got to be Kenway, the pirate. Who doesn't want to be a pirate?
No, I'm sorry.
I loved Kenway. He was great.
I'm
Great.
sorry. He's
But
from
you're right.
Black Flag, right?
Like Frag.
Yeah, it's in Black Flag.
So I didn't really like Black Flag because I hate driving anything in any game, and to enjoy that game, you had to be a really good pirate, and you had to drive a boat, and I was like, no, thank you.
I mean, I would question you had to be a really good pirate. You could be a shit pirate, but no, I get that point. I get that point. But no, Ezio is a great character. Like you say, he had a lot of great story development.
Yeah.
And they really did flesh him out. And they kind of sold him. You might disagree because you've clearly played quite a few of them, or all of them. But they really sold him as ultimately the ultimate assassin, like the best assassin.
Yeah.
They never went into as much detail with any other assassin apart from him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that statement. Yeah, Ezio was the man. He was the beginning, even though he wasn't. But to me, he felt like the beginning of where everything started.
He really solidified what the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood really was.
Exactly.
Because Altair's story didn't really solidify it. It was more just him, even though the Brotherhood had existed by that point.
Right.
Whereas Ezio really kind of solidified what it was about.
Right.
Yeah, they really fleshed out the story then. During those two, I forget what it was number 2, and then there was Brotherhood.
It was 2, and then Brotherhood, and then Revelations.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played any of them, so.
It helped as well that I think the Italian Renaissance was the perfect setting as well. It's the perfect setting for an Assassin's Creed game. It's by far the most enjoyable setting that they've had for an Assassin's Creed game.
Leonardo and just, it was great. I love that series, and thinking about it today and this past week just made me want to play it again, and I probably will.
Once you finish Persona.
And whenever that is. So Ezio is my number 2. My number 1, and it's
Sorry, should we go should we go to? Should we leave our number ones till last,
Oh, that's
and
a
then
good
we'll,
idea.
and then we'll go.
Mike, do you want to do your 3 and 2?
Go on then.
2 and 3.
I feel like I was just like I want to talk about mine, but I was just trying to go around the room.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, but
Save our ones for last.
But yeah, my number 3 is the Goose from Entitled Goose Game, because
I love it.
he's the best playable character, or she, because you can just be a dick, and I'm all about that. You can just be a dickhead. You can push a kid in a puddle, like, you know, you can steal a farmer's hat. Like, it's just the perfect level of dickishness. And
I think
that was my only reasoning for that.
I think it's the perfect favorite playable character for you.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree. And my other favourite playable character is the Dragonborn from Skyrim, because I have played that game countless times.
Skyrim.
Skyrim. Yeah. I played that game countless times, made countless characters, and it never gets dull for me. So I think like it's just a fun experience and is a great character. Even though they don't say anything, it's kind of just like you're just playing yourself and however you feel at the time. I don't know if any of you agree with that, but
I mean, you know my views on Skyrim, so probably not.
Not a week will go by without Skyrim being mentioned, Shane. You should know this.
Skyrim and Mario, they are our main weekly focuses.
Sorry,
I've
go on,
never
Sarah.
played Skyrim.
You never played Skyrim. It's so
Yes.
good.
No,
You-
I tried to play Oblivion and I just could not get into it. So when Skyrim came out, I was like, I probably won't like that one too.
It's so good.
You're already you're already better than Mike, so we'll bin him off. You can be the weekly host because he keeps going on about fucking Skyrim,
It's good.
brown secrets and grey walls.
There's nothing wrong with
As
Brown
we-
Secrets.
As we've previously covered. No, interesting. So for you then, that one's more about the flexibility of the character.
Yeah, it's kind of what you put into it. It's just your own little interpretation of how you're going to be as a character. Like you can just run in and be like, you can kill everyone in the village. Like I'm sure Shane, that would be your
100%.
MO. But you can do that. Skyrim allows that, and I love that about Skyrim.
Interesting.
But yeah, what about you, Shane? What's your number 3?
I've got 2. So my 2 and 3 are 2. You could argue that they're very similar, but they're not. They're 2 very different reasons as to why I've picked them. So my number 3 is Grayson Hunt from Bulletstorm. Basically, the reason I've picked him is as we've discussed many times, I really like 80s action movies because they're great. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, I love that.
Like just proper over the top, muscly, like action movies with ridiculous action scenes and unnecessary fight scenes. Just really dumb action films. Love them. And there's a handful of characters that really try to encapsulate that. You've got the likes of Duke Nukem. There's another one that my brain is completely lost, but none of them really tickle me, and that I enjoy as much as Grayson Hunt. It is this like Gears of War-esque, muscle-bound
Macho man
character. Yeah, macho man who's just not afraid of anything. Wears armor, but yet has his entire arms on show, like as if his arms can stop bullets. Like he only has armor on his chest, and nothing else is armored at all. But he's got some great quotes as well. Like you go through, he's a bit of a dick, but you can't help but find him a little bit comical. And some of the quotes he says, like you're running around, and he'll say things like I've got a list of some of his quotes up here. And some of them just like, when you open the game, hey dick tits, this game ain't gonna pre-order itself. And just a proper dick who just shouts shouts the word dick a lot. Son of a dick. It's murder time. There's a really good one that I just found, which was making me chuckle quite a lot. There's a bit where he's like, "You're gonna kill my dick off." What does that even mean?
I remember you streaming this, Shane, and it was definitely a lot of fun to watch. Like,
it's just great. I hear it is cockfucker rimjob piece of shit. Like, how when are you going to hear a video game character say that that's not in a South Park game? Just shit like that, and it really for me encapsulated those over the top 80s movies that game did, and him as this very comical, just a bit of a dickhead character that you just can't help but find a little bit lovable all through his swearing and aggression. That's why he's my number 3. Great character.
Who doesn't love swearing and aggression?
Exactly. Who doesn't? And the game features a giant fucking robotic Godzilla creature that you can control. Why would you not enjoy that game? I'm quite upset they never made a sequel to it, because it was a great game.
Yeah, it was. Like, gunplay and everything was really fucking good in that game as well.
Yeah, the gunplay was solid, and the whole game was based around killing in the most efficient or mental ways possible. The more artistic and mad the kill was, the more points you got.
Yeah.
So it was, if you got a headshot, it was like 200 points. But if you got a headshot while you were electrocuting him, it's 500 points.
Or kicked him into the sky and then headshot him while he's like mid-air.
I feel like I need to play this game. This sounds amazing.
Honestly, it's so much fun. And there'd be moves like, if you did a sliding kick to their dick, it'd come up with like dick shot. And just shit like that. It's so childish, but so much fun.
I want to play.
I mean, it's not expensive to pick up now.
Okay, there we go. Let's go get it then.
The definitive edition has been launched now, and that's the one I streamed recently. And it's pretty cheap, and it's well worth. It's about 15-hour game, like story mode, and it's well worth just playing through it. You'd enjoy it. It's so good. And my number 2, again talking about muscle-bound men, is Kratos. This for different reasons, not because he's an 80s action hero who swears a lot, but more because, like Sarah was saying, his character development, and he's cool. Let's be honest. He's just cool.
Literally,
that is
kills gods.
Exactly. There is no one in the world who can say he's not cool. He kills gods ultimately for fun and aggression.
Yeah.
That's because they pissed him off a bit.
Yeah.
Mad.
Most of us get pissed off and we just go and sit in our room and cry for a bit. But no, he's going around stabbing and slicing God's heads off. But
classic Kratos.
Classic. But I mean, you've got the really aggressive, mad Kratos of the original games, and then the way that his character's developed over the years into the remake, or I say remake, more reboot, where they've he's still got that aggressive undertones, but they've toned him down a lot because he's now a father and he's got things that he has to protect, as well as being an angry as fuck god killer. And he's very much, you can see in the way that he talks and the way that he reacts that he's not the same man he used to be. He's very different. He's got to be more careful about the conflicts he gets into, and very much trying to escape his past instead of just running into it. Chain blades are flailing. And I just think they did an amazing job of turning this super aggressive, over the top, angry character into this, although still angry, a very caring father who you kind of, throughout the game, you're learning that he's still learning how to be a father himself. And you're going through that journey with him, of him learning how to look after this child that he's got with him while trying to not get killed by every fucking thing that exists in that game.
at the same time knowing that he just wants to fucking punt this kid across
Yeah.
all universes. You can see it in his face the whole game. You're just like, oh, I just want to punch this kid. And he's like, I'm a father. I cannot do this.
Definitely. But not only that, like there's points of the game, and I don't know if you two felt this as well, where it's almost like he doesn't want to show off what he truly is or truly capable of to his son. Like he very much holds his powers back because he doesn't want to be seen by his son as this just murder ball of aggression that he can become. So he's very it's like we're very withdrawn within his abilities, and it's not like till towards the end of the game that he starts to open up some of those powers a little bit more.
But it's very much like the sins of our fathers, isn't it? He doesn't want to like pass down what his father. I don't want to go to spoiler territory, but you know what, I will. That game's old as fuck. So you find out that his father is actually Zeus, and he kills his father. But it's like all of the torture and stuff that he went through in the first 3 games was all because of Zeus, and I think that's why he doesn't want to pass that on to his son. He doesn't want him to be the same as what he was. But I also think it was a really smart choice to tone him down a lot because he was very over the top in the first 3 games and shouty and loud. And in this new generation of God of War, like they've really changed it up, and it was a really, really smart choice to do that, I think.
Definitely, it grounded him and made him, in my opinion, even though I've not got children, it made him a lot more relatable. A hell of a lot more relatable.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
And it just, even if you're not a god, there are just some points in your life where you feel so much anger, but you know that it's just within you and has nothing to do with anything else, and you just don't want to show it, but you feel it, and it's not to the same extent as a god, but you feel it, and that's absolutely why it was relatable to me too. And just it's definitely tough to feel all that and not be able to share it.
Definitely.
Yeah, agreed.
Definitely.
Kratos is good. It's a good character.
Great character.
Yeah.
Great development. Right, Sarah, you're number 1. I would
So
say
my
drum
number
roll, but let's not do that. Go for it.
So my number 1 is Jack from the first BioShock game. Again, with the story progression. The thing with this, though, is because it's an old game, I'm going to spoil, you had no character progression. You had no choice whatsoever. You were playing this person, just trying to get through, trying to figure out who you were, and in the meantime, shooting yourself up with stuff that you didn't know what it was, and being this almighty being, and then suddenly realizing you're doing all of this stuff because somebody's telling you to do it. And that was the first.
Sarah, I've not played the game. No, I'm joking.
Where are you? Oh, okay.
I mean, I've not played it, but I'm messing.
Okay. Well, yeah, but like you just this whole time you're playing this beautiful game and difficult and intense, and you realize none of the stuff that you were doing was really your choice. You were following, not only was your character following somebody else's orders and demands, but you were too, because you're playing that character, and that realization at the end made that specific character so enjoyable to me, because not only was it happening to him, but it was happening to me. And it was just such a mind-blowing event that it is always going to resonate with me, and it's always going to be a piece of me. And my shower curtain is BioShock and any other thing that I have in my life with regards to video games in like a physical world with models and stuff is all BioShock related, because it just hit me so hard with that.
Yeah, that end twist is like, it's up there in like the greatest moments in gaming for me. I think it's just like you've just played like a puppet like through the whole game.
Yeah,
it's a really cool twist.
Yeah, that's just kind of what made him for me a great playable character, because that twist made my entire experience something that I didn't experience, and that was insane to me.
Yeah, so Sarah, would you kindly tell us what the twist is? Well, in a bit more detail.
Yeah, so so basically this guy is talking to you and he asks simple questions like, hey, so would you kindly mind getting me this thing? And you're like, oh yeah, no problem. But turns out the would you kindly is just something that you were brainwashed into hearing to follow the rules and do whatever it is asked of you with that statement. And you're like, oh shit, because everything you've been doing is, would you kindly go and find this one person? You do because you were asked, would you kindly, which is your trigger phrase.
Yeah, it was like your trigger word, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's so good.
And that was so good. You don't find that out until like the last 5 minutes, and as soon as you were done with the game, you were like, no, what? So good.
Yeah, not one. I mean, it's interesting hearing your views on that because I've never actually played BioShock. I played like the first 5 minutes and didn't like it, but interesting.
Well, so I actually had to try to play it 3 times. The first 2 times I tried to play it, I was too much of a pussy to actually go through with it because it was too scary. And then I gained a few years in my life and I was like, don't be such a bitch, and went through it and then finally realized how good horror games were. And now that's basically what I do. And it just was the best experience.
I just love that. And Sarah said to herself, don't be such a bitch. So she didn't. And now she plays horror games. Amazing. Mike, what's your number one?
Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us, like equally. Just the jobs that the actors did on those characters, like, are fucking incredible. And despite what you think of like the story in number 2, the acting and the writing is just incredible, and it really brings those characters to life, makes them so fucking believable in that setting. That I just think they're great characters. I love playing as them. I love watching their stories unfold. And Joel specifically, his story is like really resonates, especially in the first Last of Us. There's a bit early on in the game where like he loses his daughter, and it just hits me hard like every single time I play it, because he's just a really relatable character to me personally. And I just think Troy Baker just does like an incredible job on that. And same with Ellie's voice actress. I can't think of her name now. It always escapes me. But she does like a great job, especially into where she takes the lead a bit more. But yeah, just 2 incredible characters, like, and they really bounce off each other well. And their story is just so good. It's just so well done. But yeah,
it was
me gushing over Last of Us 2 again.
No, it was very hard for me to not put them on my list. I loved playing through as Ellie, who just, lost everything and feels so lost and has this confusion of wanting to trust another person in her life who says that she should trust them, but has such a hard time believing them. And, I feel like this ties in with a lot of people that have abandonment issues, where she wasn't necessarily abandoned, but she was forcefully removed from people that cared for her, and had eventually all this trust towards Joel. But at the end of the day, in 2, she found out that trust was so betrayed, and having to be someone that has nothing to having the one person that was the something tell you that everything was a lie. It was definitely just so heartbreaking and hard. Like I said, hard not to put on the list.
Yeah.
I'm glad you.
Sorry, go on, Shane.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said both, because especially with number 1, I don't think either character. I think they'd both have been really good characters if they were on their own, but I don't think they would have been nearly as good if they didn't have each other. Like Ellie very much grounds Joel's story even more, and like builds his character in such a way that you just feel so connected to him. And the same with watching Ellie, almost watching her grow up in the first one, just makes her so likable, and so like you almost sort of you feel like Joel, you want to protect and cherish her. Going into the second one, you still have those feelings towards her. So I'm glad you put both on there. And just to clarify, her voice actor is Ashley Johnson.
I knew it was an Ashley, I just wasn't sure. I was going to say Ashley Birch, but that's someone completely different.
Yes.
But yeah, they did such a good job. Like, even watching like the breakdowns of the the motion capture and stuff like that. Like, and I think Neil Druckmann as well, the director, like he did a really great job on it. Just with the direction that he took with the like the choices with the actors. And there's a documentary, you can find it on YouTube, of just the making of the first one, and it's all behind the scenes, all motion capture, and just interviews with like the actors and the director, and it's just such a good watch. It really is. So just like have a look at that if you've not already seen it.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, I've not seen that. I'd be interested in that as well.
Yeah, there's towards the end of it as well. There's like a hidden scene that they didn't include, which is also worth a watch. Like, it's really good. But yeah,
I'll ask you for that link here.
Yeah, I'll drop a link somewhere.
That'd be great.
What about you, Shane? What's your number one?
My number one is the one and only Lara Croft. Like,
Hottie.
Just you can't. I think if I was to say to anyone, and either of you, like strong female video game character, she would be one of the ones that immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
She's been for 25 years, whatever it is that she's been on the scene. She has been at the forefront of pushing female video game characters, playable female, not just side characters or quest givers, but playable female video game characters, and ones that are strong and powerful and smart and know what they're doing. She's had 2 or 3 reboots over her career.
Yeah.
Going from pointy boobed
the best Laura,
the best Laura, pointy boobed young teenage male pinup in in the PlayStation 1 days, to her most recent Crystal Dynamics reboot, where she's now a fully developed, fully fleshed out character who is not only this kick-ass, unfortunately a bit of a murderer, but archaeologist who has some like mad abilities, but she's also got these inner demons that you start to learn about, and she's got family issues, money issues, and she's because very much originally she's just this amazing creature that had nothing wrong with her, but now they've really fleshed out her story so that she's got problems and she's got things she has to overcome to become the Tomb Raider that we knew from the original. And I just think over the years they've just done an incredible job of keeping her fresh, keeping her relevant, and again continuing to push that strong female lead in playable video game characters that so often easily gets lost amongst the hundreds and hundreds of male video game characters that there constantly are.
Yeah, I think she's definitely developed into like a iconic character. Like her character design, everything will never go away. Like she'll always be recognizable as Lara Croft. Just what I wanted to add.
Yeah, I love that you put it that way too. Like, she is an absolute strong female character, but also with so many issues. And I wanted to put her on the list too, and it's just so tough because there's just so many good characters to play out there, and you have to pick your top 3. But just having that's why I wanted to put Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn on the list as well. Just having a female character out there who is strong and independent, but also has so many issues to work through. It just reminds you that you don't have to be perfect, no matter, what gender or whatever you are. You don't have to be perfect to be strong, and you can have flaws and work through your issues while making sure that you're doing everything that you can to make sure that you're good. And that definitely, I feel like, resonates with a lot of people, but for a lot of females as well, because it's definitely recently it's been better, but for a long time I feel like females have been definitely misrepresented in a lot of games. But like I said, in recent games, it's you get a lot of more personal and closeness with these characters that are strong but also have many flaws, and to have somebody tell you that it's okay, it's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I always remember to that first reboot from the Crystal Dynamics one, when she's only something like 18 or 19, and they first crash on the island at the very beginning of the game, and she has to, right near the beginning, quite early on, she has to kill someone for the first ever time, and then she has that moment where she just breaks down in the fact that I've just had to fucking kill someone. Like what? It wasn't just a brush it off, move on. There was a real moment of almost sickness you could see in her, of just, what the fuck have I done?
Right.
I've just taken a life. And I think they covered that really well. It, again, made her very relatable to be like, shit, like you say, she's this powerful woman, but actually she has got emotions. She has got her own problems. You get to see the house that's all fallen to pieces, where she's got financial issues. You get to hear and talk about her dad and the broken down relationship she has with him. Just, yeah, an all round great character in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Just on that first kill, that moment where it's like super emotional and stuff like that, but like fast forward to 10 hours into the game, and there's a trophy for like pulling 10 enemies off a cliff. Like,
yeah. Fast forward to the third game, she's killed about 700 people.
It's still at the end of the day a video game, but they tried.
No, it is good though. I do agree with everything you said.
Okay, just before we wrap up then, before we wrap up the podcast for today, 10 to 20 seconds each, one honourable mention and 5 words as to why. 5 words maximum as to why they're an honourable mention. Sarah?
The guy from Party Hard, because he's like, these neighbors are too loud throwing a party, I'm gonna kill them all.
I mean, that was more than 5 words, but I'll allow it because that was a pretty decent explanation. Mike?
Honourable mention for me is Anna and Ryan from Overwatch. It's going to be more than 5 words, I'm sorry. Me and Strongback, this is like our 2 characters that we play together, and we are just an absolute unit. Like, we take on teams of like full teams just by ourselves, like playing these 2 characters. We've just got such good like synergy when it comes to playing together. I just really like their dynamic as well, because like they have a cool relationship in the lore. Anyway, Anna and Ryan, really cool.
Perfect. And mine would be, and I'm going to butcher this, Takayuki Yagami, the Kung Fu cop who doesn't stop. the main character from Judgment, who is a Kung Fu detective alcoholic. It just covers all bases. What more could you want out of a character? He can kick the shit out of you while drunk, while solving all your crimes.
The cop that can't be stopped. I love him.
They're literally the cop that can't be stopped.
I
will get back to that game.
There are other names we came up with, but we won't. We
won't be sharing those.
No.
No, but that's it for today's.
Yeah.
For this week's episode. So, Mike, anything you want to finish up on before we wrap up?
No, I'm all good. Just that we every Monday, obviously, we release. We have a blog every Friday, so it's out today, but we're recording this on Friday, so you already read that, hopefully.
It's an interesting blog this week.
It's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, it covers a little bit around our character choices for that final segment. Well worth a read.
Yeah, I enjoyed that read. Just anything that finishes with gaping hole, I'm reading it. So it's definitely worth a read.
Down with that. You can find us, as we said at the beginning of the show, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other podcasting places where you can find your podcast goodness. Please subscribe or follow or leave a 5-star review, whichever one is available on the podcast platform that you like to listen on, whichever is available. Any of that helps us. Again, we don't ask for any money. We don't earn anything from this. This is solely for our enjoyment and your enjoyment. But the subscriptions and follows and
just give us your love and
reviews.
Your time.
Yeah, they just help us out a lot. And lastly, our guest has been Sarah. She, as she said at the beginning of the episode, she's a streamer. Sarahforthewine. Sarah, is there anything you want to tie off with before we say goodbye?
Yes, just a quick shout out to the T-shaped guy from Tetris because he's also awesome. But thank you for having me, and I can't wait to help you guys with other tech stuff.
We love having you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from me till next week.
Yep. Goodbye, everyone.
So, bye.
Bye.
TripleXP. TripleXP. TripleXP.